What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode here, the Side Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, Trevor Lawrence. Joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of this, I guys, Ted the Side. And Ted, today's episode, we're continuing with our head coaching series. But before we get into the episode, Ted, I kind of want to ask you about some recent NFL headlines and just get your quick, 30-second take on it.
Okay, I know one of the things you're going to ask about, I almost suggested we do a quick episode about it. But anyway, you keep going.
Some of these things we'll probably dive into in a future episode, given more of a fantasy take. But yeah, the first one is, we sort of talked about this in a previous episode, but Aaron Rodgers has officially inked his deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, signing a $13 million plus deal to be their new starting quarterback. What's your take on that?
Great signing. Honestly, I know a lot of people are kind of negative on it, but I think the Jets are just kind of like an anchor on a lot of players. So I actually think this could be a very good kind of swan song for Aaron Rodgers. Trading George Pickens right now seems like a very weird decision. I still don't know. There had to be locker room stuff involved with that. But in general, it's better than any quarterback they have in the room. So I'm giving it an A-.
Okay. Interesting. I think we talked about this before. I felt like without Aaron Rodgers, I like that situation as far as a fantasy situation better in Pittsburgh, but with Aaron Rodgers, for some reason, it gives me a slight downgrade. So yeah, I'm kind of
so we're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll dive into that in a future episode here. But here's another fantasy sort of relevant news. Nick Chubb has not re-signed.
Do we have to bring this up? No,
we don't. With the Houston Texans on I think a $2.3 million deal. Yeah. So what's your instant reaction to that one? In your division, I think that's the bigger one. I think why you're upset.
Yeah. Do we have to talk about that?
Really quick, right, you don't have to give any sort of
all right. I mean,
on this one.
Jesus Christ. They're gonna be so good. They are gonna run away with this division. Okay. Look, football wise, strategy wise, on the field wise, excellent move. Is Nick Chubb going to be fantasy relevant? I don't think so. I think he's going to, and I can already tell you right now, we are going to have to talk about him during one of our waiver episodes because he's going to have a week where he goes off for like 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's like, oh, should you pick up Nick Chubb? And we're going to have that conversation, calling that right now. But in general and long term, not even for dynasty leagues, just even in redraft leagues, will he be consistently good for you? I don't think so, because Joe Mixon did really well in the system last year. Yeah, I mean, they're both going to be good. God fucking damn it.
The interesting thing, though, here, Ted.
No, it's okay, because we're running with Daniel Jones and Anthony fucking Richardson.
No, the interesting thing here, and I think this is why maybe they signed Nick Chubb, is that I'm hearing lots of reports that Joe Mixon's ankle is actually giving him a lot more concern. So it's like he may not be healthy to start the season, and he may not be 100% even through the season as well. So I think this was like an insurance policy that in case Joe Mixon just for some reason either starts the season on the IR or like throughout the season, he just can't be relied on as to have the season that he had last year with Houston. That's like, I think this is like that backup plan. You got a veteran presence there who could hopefully, I know Nick Chubb's also dealt with a share of injuries as well. So it's like, it's going to be very interesting.
I was about to say, if Joe Mixon's ankle is actually bothering him that much, that's like covering your already shitty insurance with the general. I'm just like, it's just like, okay, it looks good. It's got Shaq in it. Like, all right, that's working, but is it really that good?
Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting. Like I said, we'll dive into that a little bit further in a later episode after the head coaching series. Then the last one is not really as much fantasy related, but just it's a very significant move. The Packers have decided to cut Jair Alexander in a cost-cutting measure. So what do you think about that move?
Well, he's a douche, so good call. But the interesting thing that I read actually was that they were trying to move him, but his contract was so bad that they just like couldn't.
Yeah,
make it
he
happen.
apparently there's interest from the Buffalo Bills to try and acquire him, but yeah,
Oh,
just,
I did not see it was the Bills. Okay, so
contract figures were just a little bit too high, exactly like you said, so they just couldn't make a deal work happen there.
So the Packers are a weird team because I keep thinking like, okay, like you're going in rebuilding mode and somehow they're just still competitive. And especially in what I consider the best division of football, it's going to be interesting because I'm not a believer in Jordan Love quite yet. So this Packers season is going to be something very interesting to watch. Also, you're leaving out a very important other story. Stephon Diggs
is it the Colt story?
No. Stephon Diggs is handing out drugs to women now.
We've already brought this up before. It's not a new story anymore.
They're pink drugs. We have to keep bringing this up.
It's not a new story anymore. We've already discussed it before.
It's pink drugs. What drug is pink? What is this, Breaking Bad? And yes, I know it's blue before you yell at me for that, but still, like, come on. Pink drugs? Like,
I think another reason why the Packers decided to move on for Jair Alexander, he dealt with a lot of injuries in the last couple of seasons as well, so he hasn't been able to stay on the field. And so, yeah, like you said, hefty contract plus the injury. So just, all that sort of combined to the fact that it's like, let's move in a different direction. So, yeah, we'll see which team ends up picking him up as, sort of a addition to their secondary there. But Tad, I think you gave the perfect transition point where you said weird situation with the Packers there. I think this transitions into our new head coach for the topic of today's episode. That is Liam Coen, probably one of the weirder introductory conferences with the NFL there, with this sort of, statement there of, Duval and saying it wrong. That was the running joke of all the NFL schedule release videos this year as well. Everybody was sort of throwing in that Duval joke into everybody's schedule release video as well. So yeah, it was very interesting press conference there, but should be a good hire for the Jaguars. I mean, we'll dive into all of that for sure here, but just initial reactions, because obviously this is within your division. Just what did you think when they hired Liam Coen outside of that introductory press conference?
Dude's a nerd.
little bit. Yeah, for sure. Okay,
but no. Hold on. In all seriousness, here's my analysis of this hire. He sucks.
Interesting. All right. We'll see exactly how it's going to pan out there. But yeah, let's sort of dive into his coaching history, Tad.
Well, real quick, another important piece of analysis. Jacksonville sucks. Not like the team, just the place, like the area just sucks.
I was about to say, because the team, for some reason, finds a way to get victory over your Colts.
Oh, come on! How dare you, sir?
You put it on a team, my friend. That was not hard for me to hit at all. But let's dive into the coaching history.
Richardson.
Let's dive into the coaching history with Liam Coen, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he was a 4-year starting quarterback, Tad, at the University of Massachusetts from 2004 to 2008. His jersey number was number 12 in honor of his favorite athlete, Tom Brady. Was roommates with a guy, Tad, that actually stopped Tom Brady from winning one of his Super Bowls. Wide receiver Victor Cruz.
Oh, shit. I was just that far off. Eli went to UMass, right?
Was that?
Eli went to UMass, right?
Not even close to UMass.
Also, the UMass what?
Minutemen. That's an easy one.
Damn it!
You can't quiz me on that one, because the very last edition, before they did the new NCAA football games, the very last edition, they introduced the new schools of Georgia State, UMass, and I'm blanking on the third college, but yeah, I always used UMass as my new school when I was starting a new franchise there. So I knew that one.
See, I always go, something about those East Coast schools, because I always go UConn.
There you go. But yeah, Coen still holds many school records at UMass. Some of them include total touchdowns with 93, total offensive yards with 10,971, total passing touchdowns with 90, and career passing yards with 11,031. He is one of only 3 quarterbacks in school history to have more than 3,000 passing yards in a single season, which sort of speaks to the passing offense at UMass or the franchise history there. He's also tied with multiple quarterbacks with the most touchdown passes in a single game with 5 of them. So that is definitely an impressive feat as well there. In 2022, Coen was inducted into the UMass Athletic Hall of Fame.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I like to think so as well. Unfortunately, though, Tad, with that success that he had at UMass, he was not drafted to the NFL, but he did play a little bit professional football, joining the Alabama Vipers of the Arena Football League. And the unfortunate thing, too, is that even in the Arena Football League, Tad, he was never a starter. He never played a game at quarterback for the Vipers. He didn't throw a single pass, but he did record his only statistic in an Arena Football game for the Alabama Vipers was 1 tackle. That is all he has done. When you look at the career history of Liam Coen in the Arena Football League, he has recorded 1 tackle, and that was it.
So is he like doubling as a special teams player?
I'm guessing
that has to be it.
I don't know if you
so wait, 1 tackle, but no interceptions.
No interceptions, no passes thrown. Yes, like I said, literally no passing stats whatsoever. That is the only stat he has ever registered is 1 tackle during his time as an Arena Football League professional.
that reminds me, I'm just going to bring up a very random stat right now. Do you want to guess the wide receiver with the most tackles in NFL history?
Part of me wants to say Troy Brown.
No, God, you're old. Larry Fitzgerald.
Yes. I think I remember
just so sad
somewhere.
It's just so sad. He has like 50 career tackles. It's like, yeah, poor bastard.
Yeah. He dealt with a little bit of a mess
Liam Coen, good for you, man. You got
Carson Palmer. He dealt with a little bit of a mess at the quarterback position.
Hey. You put some respect on Kurt Warner's name.
No, you're right. But that came a lot later too.
Yeah, that was like 2 years.
Yeah. So clearly, Tad has played
Liam Coen.
Yeah. So clearly, Tad, his playing career just didn't go the way that he wanted to. So he jumped into the coaching ranks and got a quarterback's coaching job with the Brown University Bears in his home state of Rhode Island.
Dude, don't give me a heart attack like that. I thought you were going to say the Cleveland Browns. Woo!
No. Brown University of the Ivy Leagues there in his home state of Rhode Island. He also had the same position in 2012 and 2013 for those years as well. Quick quiz for you here, Tad. I'm going to give you a multiple choice answer with this one. So,
thank you.
Since the year 2000, how many players have been drafted out of the University of Brown? Is it 0? Is it 1?
Okay.
Is it 2? Okay. Or is it 3?
Okay. See, okay. So I'm gonna go 3. For some reason, I'm feeling 3.
It is actually 2.
Damn it!
2 players have been drafted since the year 2000 from Brown University. We have Zach DeOssie, a linebacker drafted by the Giants in the 4th round.
I actually kind of remember him.
And then David Howard was drafted by the Tennessee Titans, a defensive tackle, in the 7th round of the 2010 NFL draft. But since then, no players from the University of Brown since 2010 have been drafted into the NFL. So for the 2011 season, Coen joined the University of Rhode Island's coaching staff as a quarterback's coach and passing game coordinator over there. Another quick quiz for you, Tad. What is the mascot for the University of Rhode Island?
Are they the Rams, I want to say?
They are indeed the Rams. Very good.
There we go. Okay. Yeah.
He then joined his alma mater, UMass, as a passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach during the 2014 and 2015 seasons. Coen finally got his first offensive coordinator position with the University of Maine for the 2016 and 2017 seasons. He was also the quarterbacks coach with Maine as well during those 2 years. After that, he initially accepted an offensive coordinator job with Holy Cross University in 2018, but a call from the NFL from the Los Angeles Rams was hard to pass up, and he ended up joining the NFL for the 2018 season. Coen was then he was with the Rams from 2018 through 2020, holding the assistant wide receivers coach position first in 2018 and 2019, and then the assistant quarterbacks coach job in 2020.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they never called anyone good when they were in St. Louis, but when they're in LA, go for it.
In 2018, Tad, as a assistant wide receivers coach, both Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods had over 1,200 receiving yards and at least 80 receptions apiece. In 2019, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods each had at least 90 receptions and over 1,100 receiving yards as well. So really coaching up the receivers as an assistant wide receivers coach. In 2021, the college ranks came calling again. Coen left the Rams to join the University of Kentucky to coach the Wildcats to be their new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. This is very impressive here, Chad. Kentucky jumped from 108th in the FBS in points per game, 21.8, to 36th with 32.3 points per game that 2021 season when Coen was offensive coordinator. Kentucky also jumped from 115th in total yards per game, 318.3, to 47th with 425.4 yards per game in that 2021 season. He also helped Will Levis become a second-round pick. Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back with the Washington Commanders, he helped him become a sixth-round pick. And then, remember this, Wandale Robinson.
Oh, God damn it. I was going to bring that up later. I hate you.
He became a second-round pick because of that success that he had in the 2021 season under Liam Coen.
Well, and another player who has attributed him to his success, a draft darling of ours, for lack of a better term, Ray Davis.
I was going to get to Ray Davis a little bit later because he did do a little bit of jumping back and forth here because, that success led to him coming back to the NFL again with the Rams, this time as an offensive coordinator to replace Kevin O'Connell, who took the head coaching job with the Minnesota Vikings. Unfortunately, the Rams did not find a lot of success that year because they had a lot of injuries to Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, and offensive lineman Alaric Jackson.
That was the Baker Mayfield season, right?
That is exactly the Baker Mayfield
season, but
the brief cup of coffee that Baker Mayfield with the Rams. Yes,
that Monday night game will forever be legend. How does Los Angeles have two legendary Monday night games the last 5 years?
It's true. It's amazing that it happened there. But yeah, they unfortunately ranked sixth in fewest points scored per game and ranked dead last in total offensive yards per game that season. So with that sour taste in his mouth, Tad Cohen went back to the University of Kentucky. So he's doing a lot of back and forth between Kentucky and LA's with the Wildcats there in 2023 to retake the previous role that he had as offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. He helped Kentucky jump from 112 in total points per game, 20.4, to 58th with 29.1 points per game. And he also helped make Ray Davis a premier prospect at the running back position in the 2023 NFL draft, drafted in the 4th round. But yeah, I think both me and you, Tad, were in love with this prospect. Definitely thought he probably would have gone higher, but yeah, running backs just weren't valued as much during that 2023 draft there. Once again, got the call from the NFL the following year, 2024, but this time he stayed on the East Coast. He went down to Florida to join Coach Todd Bowles' coaching staff as the new offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay ranked top 5 in both total points per game and total yards per game, ranked 20th in points per game and 23rd in yards per game the previous year without Liam Coen. And the big thing, he reunited with Baker Mayfield again, helped Baker Mayfield has his best season as a pro. Mayfield threw for 41 passing touchdowns, tied for second in the NFL, 4,500 passing yards, tied for third in the NFL that year, and had a 71.4 completion percentage, Tad, which is third in the NFL. He also earned MVP and Offensive Player of the Year votes and made his second career Pro Bowl ever. He also put the rookie Bucky Irving on the map as well, who finished 10th in the league in scrimmage yards and finished 6th in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. Because of the success that he had in Tampa Bay, the Jacksonville Jaguars came a call it, and he is now the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But you can sort of see, Tad, we're sort of discussing this before we were taking notes for this episode, and you were sort of like, I don't know how Liam Cohen's the episode's going to go. But looking at his history, you can sort of see the success that he had from the University of Kentucky to a little bit the Rams, definitely with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you can sort of see this guy has the pedigree as to why he earned that head coaching job with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, sorry. I was making some faces earlier. It's really dusty here, so just give me. Baker should have been MVP.
He actually finished 11th in MVP voting that year. He finished 11th.
Oh God, the dust is coming back. That's a crime. All right. I think the sneezes are done. Yes. So a couple more fun facts about Liam Coen is he is the youngest head coach in Jacksonville Jaguars history at 39 years old.
Okay.
Do you know who the first coach in Jacksonville Jaguars history was?
Is it Tom Coughlin?
Yeah, it is, which is hilarious because you're just like hitting both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, you are.
Right there.
Yeah, you are.
So also, I would love to know if this story is actually true, but his dad his dad was a high school football coach for basically his entire life. And he says the story is true. His assistant coaches swear this is true. Apparently, Liam Coen was drawing up wishbone plays at 4 years old. At 4 years old, they like walked into the room and he was just like on a chalkboard, like drawing up wishbone plays. Not sure I buy that, but we'll keep
Still
doing
very interesting to think about, though. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But in this, I actually do buy. So, yeah, his dad was a football junkie. So that's like, his dad was always like, he was meant to play football because growing up, it was never like, oh, I want to watch, especially living with my niece and nephew. Let me tell you, it was never like, oh, I want to watch, Frozen or I want to watch this or that. It was always, let's watch tape together. So,
by the way, this or that's a fantastic show.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Right behind That's So Raven.
That's
but true. God, that is a data reference. But no, so apparently he's just been a football junkie his entire life. This is why I got so mad at you. One of his closest friends is actually his backup quarterback at UMass by the name of Scott Woodward, who is the Kentucky wide receivers coach.
Oh, okay.
So he was one of the main contributors to Wan'Dale Robinson's success. Wan'Dale Robinson is quoted as saying as much. And here's an interesting note. Wan'Dale Robinson scheduled to be a free agent this offseason.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, so Wan'Dale Robinson to Jacksonville. Don't count it out. There's a little bit of
I could see it happening, especially with just all the, influx that we have with the New York Giants as far as like what are we going to see there from that offense there. If Robinson doesn't get involved, then yeah, he could very, very much be like, you know what? I'm going to go and sign with a guy that I found success with. So very interesting. Yeah, that'll be an interesting offseason take for next year if he does sign with the Jaguars. But
man, that would be an interesting.
That's a good nugget there. That's a good nugget.
That would be an interesting fantasy outlook.
Pairing him with Brian Thomas Jr.
Fuck me. I hate him. How is everyone else in this division getting better? Cam Ward's looking good. Fucking Houston just got Nick. God. Move on to the next segment, please.
Yeah.
Oh, no, all right. No, don't, because now we had to talk about how smart he is. Fuck.
Yeah, let's definitely dive into his coaching style and how this will affect possibly your fantasy aspects when it comes to planning your strategies here. So, I think first and foremost, I mean, I know we were sort of talking about, the success that he had as a assistant wide receivers coach in LA with Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, all those guys, Wan'Dale Robinson, who we're just talking about here. But the rushing attack is actually a driving force of everything that Liam Coen does. His ability to run a very traditional downhill scheme with, pulling guards, tackles out of just, heavy personnel is better than just every offense that I've seen in the league. I mean, just provided the offensive play plays to its potential in Jacksonville, this Jaguars offense should see a much improvised rushing attack under Coen. I think that's just, first and foremost. We talked about Ray Davis. I think he found a lot of success in Kentucky as well. We talked about Bucky Irving in Tampa Bay, and, Rachaad White found a little bit of success there too. So I think, there should be a good sign for the running backs in Jacksonville system that with Liam Coen under center, I think that running game should naturally just see a boost as far as just, whether that's, extension of the, short passing game or whether it's, running out of heavy sets and just getting some good pulling and blocking schemes in place. I think just this running game should be a forefront of the offense there. But also the big thing is just like, the extension of that running game is the short passing attack. So, you see a lot of these, short intermediate moving passes. Now, one of the big problems that the Jacksonville Jaguars suffered from last year is that Doug Peterson, while he designed some good passing plays, it requires the quarterback to be very precise with his passes on these comeback routes and timing-based routes that are a lot deeper than just your standard, like shallow and intermediate routes. So it just led to a lot of incompletions. And, Trevor Lawrence, even though being a former number 1 overall pick, there's still a lot of things that just, you can't consistently make the passes that Doug Peterson was requiring of him.
Well, okay, and to interrupt on that point real quick, God, I can't believe I'm about to defend Trevor Lawrence, but because you are absolutely correct with those comeback routes and, it's a lot of the receiver has to read the defense really well. And so I think a lot of the blame falls on Trevor Lawrence or falls on like really any quarterback because, you throw a pick and you're going to blame the quarterback. But a lot of what I was watching with the Jaguars wasn't really his fault. Like, I didn't see like a whole lot of errant passes where I was like, oh shit, that was a terrible throw by Trevor Lawrence. They were there. I'm not saying they weren't, existent, but it was interesting to watch Peterson's offense because I agree it is something where, it's a lot of anticipatory. Holy shit, I paid that.
Very good. Yes.
Oh, yeah. How about that? But yeah, it's a lot of that kind of play, and I don't think they had the right receiver and quarterback mix for that. Especially if your best receiver is a rookie. I mean, that just goes to show, not the best, chemistry there.
Yeah, basically as a season that Brian Thomas Jr. had, it's just to rely solely on that, it was just really tough. You saw a lot of struggles in that passing offense. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence dealt with some injuries as well, so that hindered a few things as well. But just it required very precise passing, and just like I said, even a quarterback of Trevor Lawrence's capabilities, it still just wasn't consistent enough to be like, okay, I can rely on this passing game to then alleviate some pressure off the running game and just bring a lot of just, cohesion to that offense overall. Now, here's where it should change with Liam Coen, because I think we should see a lot more of those short and intermediate routes. We should see a lot more crossing routes and drag routes where it's just very easy, simple throws for the quarterback to make and make the receiver make a play with the ball in his hands, as opposed to making these big chunk plays where the receiver has to be in the right spot at the right time and the quarterback has to make sure that pass on the right time. That's how you get your big gains. This is going to be a lot of just extension of that West Coast offense, which we talked about in so many episodes before, where it's just everybody has a semblance of that. This is just going to be an extension of that. And I think that should really give Trevor Lawrence a lot more comfort in this passing offense. And then it will allow for him to then every so often take it off the top and then, hit a Brian Thomas Jr. deep or something like that. But just, this should alleviate a lot of the issues that the passing offense had from last year.
And here's the thing that it doesn't bug me, but we're going to find a new name for it, because you're right. This does have, elements of the West Coast offense.
Yeah.
But it's the Sean McVay offense. And that's not your traditional West Coast offense. It's a weird combo of West Coast with, honestly, the college spread system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a weird, hybrid baby of that. It's like the weird, thing in Alien Resurrection. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't think I saw Resurrection.
Yeah, don't. Okay. There's there's a weird alien baby with Ripley, and it's like a white alien. It's with a human face. It's very odd, but that's what this offense is. It's very odd, but hey, it works. And well, that one didn't. The alien didn't. Spoiler alert: it dies. But yeah.
I thought you were gonna say that weird puppy monkey baby from the Mountain Dew commercials. Do you remember that?
No, puppy. Oh shit! I forgot. I blocked that from my memory. Oh, I hated that.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, I hated that so much.
That was weird as
all I hate you so much for bringing that back in my memory.
Yeah, go to sleep with that thought in your mind.
God damn it. I legitimately blocked that from my memory. Was it dancing too?
Yeah, it did some weird dances, and it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. It was very weird and awkward.
All right, keep going through notes, you fucker.
Not only is the short and intermediate passing game thing, but Liam Coen loves to utilize the screen game, Tad. I think that's going to be a big thing that's going to benefit this passing offense as well, because Baker Mayfield was able to beat the blitz 27% of the time with the screen passes coming against the, he was able to avoid the blitz on 27% of his passes because they utilized the screen game. Let everybody come in, dump it off to the running back or the wide receiver, whatever it was, sometimes the tight end too. And then that's how they were able to beat the blitz a lot of the time. And just, you saw that in Jacksonville. They were doing a lot of that. I think Trevor Lawrence was, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league when it came to trying to beat the blitz. And so, I think the other thing, last note that I have here, is that Lawrence will also find success getting the ball out of his hands quickly, because that's what Coen was doing with Baker Mayfield. Mayfield last season threw the ball within 2.78 seconds, which was the 9th shortest in the NFL, with at least 385 dropbacks. Lawrence last year did have a 2.64 second release time as far as time in the pocket, but that was only with 316 dropbacks. You have to remember that he did get hurt towards the end of the year. He didn't finish out the season there. So, if you play that full amount, maybe the number would have been higher. Maybe he could have maintained it, but I think that is going to be a key factor for his offense as well, especially if the offensive line does not play to its level of capabilities that maybe Jacksonville is hoping for. To get a quarterback who can get the ball out of his hands quickly, to get it into the playmaker's hands that much faster, just going to benefit his offense all that much.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear a word you were saying. So the entire time you were talking, I just kept hearing "monkey baby puppy" or whatever the fuck that stupid ass song was. God damn it! I hate you so much for bringing that back into my memory.
I really thought that's what you were going to say. So.
No, I really because like I said, I like willingly blocked it from my memory because I hate that commercial. So was that a Super Bowl commercial?
It was.
Oh God. Okay. Anywho, let's get to my notes on the scheme. Nothing much to add. Something interesting that I did notice while watching this tape, though, is he really likes extra blockers, but not on the offensive line. So an interesting set that I found was the Bucs backup tight end. I will Venmo you $10 right now if you can tell me their backup tight end.
I have no idea.
Payne Durham. How's that for
out of Purdue? Out of Purdue.
Yeah, exactly. So Payne Durham played 40% of the total Buccaneers offensive snaps last year. So that tells you, okay, he really likes, playing the, tight end, an extra tight end there as a blocker. Also, there's something called the pony personnel. Do you know what the pony personnel is?
Something from SMU.
Yeah, fair enough. Actually, that might be that honestly might be the
maybe that's where it originated.
No, that honestly might be the origin with like
isn't
Craig
that the
James.
name of the 30 for 30? It's like something about
that's Pony Express. Yeah, Pony Express.
Yeah, but it was about SMU's football team, right?
Yes,
I'm pretty sure.
But yes, because Pony is there. When that's all the whole SMU saying is Pony up.
Yeah, see, so that's why I figured maybe that's where it originated.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean that's fair. That's fair. Also, you're really making me miss Dallas right now. But yeah, so the pony personnel just is a fancy way of saying you have two running backs in the game. And I like how you said like, oh yeah, Rachaad White kind of did well because actually Rachaad White had a almost career year last year. But here's why. And this is I think why Bucky Irving had such a great rookie year is because Coen loves doing this thing of it's hard to explain in words, but visually you can tell where it's so he uses the running backs as a distraction, but that distraction is also as an extra blocker. So essentially like they're like there and then if needed, then they can catch the ball. So it's a fantastic way of operating the offense. Another thing to note is he loves a 3-by-1 look, meaning so you're going to see a lot of 3 receivers on one side, 1 receiver on the other. Another thing, do you want to guess what percentage of motion plays the Buccaneers ran last year?
I want to say 78%.
Well, you killed the game, but 49%.
49%.
But still, that's insanely high.
Yeah.
49% of the Buccaneers plays last year were motion. So he loves to use motion to kind of, figure out what the defense is going to do. Mm-hmm. This is something I noticed because I swear to God, I actually did watch game tape. There is something that I like to call a game or a tendency breaker. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, so for those of you who are like, what the hell are you talking about? So I actually watched their game against the Panthers, which if you don't remember, they won like 48-13. Like they just totally blew out the Panthers. Opening drive, which by the way, the Buccaneers scored 8 times on the opening drive last season, which is tied for the most in the league.
There you go.
So he has a very good game script ready. But anyway,
came out hot, yeah.
So in the opening drive against the Panthers, he did kind of like what you were talking about, a gap scheme with the offensive line. It was a run with Bucky Irving, breaks out for a huge run, not quite a touchdown, but it was like at several dozen yards. Very next drive, offensive drive for the Buccaneers, exact same look. What do? Play action. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, no shit, but like honestly, like that's where you're just like some of these NFL coaches. How do you not know how to do that? Liam Coen smart enough to kind of trick you in, and that's what I mean by tendency breakers, right? Mm-hmm. Because the NFL defense knows, oh, hey, Bucky Irving broke it off big time. Last time we saw this look, shit, Baker's got the ball, and then it's a massive pass to Mike Evans. So I think that's a lot of things you're going to look out for as well as tendency breakers. And another thing he does, and this is exactly ripped straight out of the Sean McVay playbook is you see so many of, I know it's not exactly the same play. You have 11 personnel, 12 personnel, maybe 21 personnel, which is, basically 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, whatever. But you have all these different personnel sets, but you have essentially what boils down to the same play in those personnel sets.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what makes Sean McVay's system so good, is because this play works, but again, with these tendency breakers, if you keep running the same personnel set, the defense is going to be like, I know what you're doing.
Yep.
So you set up the personnel in a way where it essentially is just the same play, but you're just forcing the defense to kind of work to what you want them to do. And Liam Coen does that to perfection. All right, let's just move that.
No, it reminds me very much of that. Tad, I think you remember this viral video of the Panthers playing the Packers, and Clay Matthews is calling out the play that the Panthers are going to run. And Noon's like, I see you've been watching tape here, but watch this. Then they run a completely different play. They score on it, whatever. So it's it's the same thing here, right? Where it's like, you want to set up the personnel where the defense thinks it's going to be one thing, but then you operate a completely different play out of it, or even multiple plays out of the same formation or same set with the same people in the sub packages or whatever. That just keeps the defense guessing all game then.
And like I said, that's why he loves running all these 2 tight end sets, all these 2 back sets, because it's just so easy to, kind of just adapt with that going on. And also that's why it was a little frustrating as a former, Rashad White manager of like, why are you doing so well this one week and not so well this other week? Because one week he'd be the runner and the other week he'd just be blocking the entire game. And by the way, Rashad White, I looked up his PFF grade. He has like an 80% blocking grade.
Yeah.
So like he's so good. And by the way, I'm blanking on his name, but if you know this, I will be so impressed. The Jaguars just drafted a guy out of Syracuse, a running back, and he is there we go. That's exactly it. So I honestly look out for him to get a lot of playing time, because I think his blocking ability, I think Cohen's really going to like that.
It's going to be very interesting, because they drafted LaQuint Allen. They also drafted Byshale Tootin out of Virginia Tech, and there's a lot of people on Jaguars Reddit that's like, these guys are going to be the future of the backfield for the Jaguars. And so we'll see exactly how that plays out.
Tank Bigsby also not, still, jury's out.
Very much true. Very much true. But okay, I think we're talking about players here, Tad. Why don't we talk about who do you think will stand to benefit the most with this change to Liam Coen as the new play caller and, offensive scheme here and just new head coach there? So, who's a guy that you think will benefit the most in a fantasy sense?
Okay. So the easy answer is Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah. I think he's going to have like a crazy year, but even despite, the Jaguars struggles, I still think he's going to be a highly drafted receiver.
Yeah.
So not the most fun answer, right? So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. All right.
So Trevor Lawrence, let me read you his career stats. You ready for this?
Okay.
12,200 total yards.
Okay. Total yards. Okay.
Total yards. Yep. 66 total touchdowns.
Okay.
35 interceptions.
Yeah, not great.
20 fumbles.
Not great either.
An 85.5 QBR.
Yeah, not bad, not great.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, it's decent. So let's compare him to a mystery quarterback.
I feel the toughest thing, please feel free to continue with the comparison here, but the toughest thing with Trevor Lawrence is that because he got Trevor Lawrence. I said Trevor Lawrence. The toughest thing with him is that because he had that first year with Urban Meyer and just things went to absolute shit, it totally skews his stats. Yeah. But yes, please continue.
They Alex Smith him.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So go ahead and continue with your comparison.
How does it feel knowing that I'm going to make that for your favorite team?
Yeah, they did though. I still stand by the fact that it's Alex Smith started that Super Bowl against the Ravens in 2012. The Niners would have won that Super Bowl.
Agreed.
I stand by that.
I completely agree with that take. All right. So we're going to compare him to a mystery quarterback. So just to recap, Trevor Lawrence, 12,200 yards, 66 touchdowns, 35 interceptions, 20 fumbles, 85.5 QBR. This mystery quarterback.
Okay.
11,990 yards.
Okay.
64 total touchdowns.
Okay.
33 interceptions, 21 fumbles, and an 85.4 QBR. Who do you think that mystery quarterback is? And if you want me to read back his stats, I can.
Part of me wants to say Dak Prescott.
Nope.
Josh Allen?
Nope.
Okay, one more guess.
Okay.
Justin Herbert.
Nope. You are like 2 tiers too high. It is It is Colts savior Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Okay. Yeah.
So Trevor Lawrence is basically on par with Daniel Jones's stats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I think he'll benefit the most. Is because,
like I said, I think that first year just screws him so much when it comes to these types of things. It's just no. I know.
But oh god, that playoff game did him so much good. Me and Trevor Lawrence, like, thank God that came back from that. Well, not thank God, but anyway. But this is why I think Trevor Lawrence stands the most to gain from this hire, is because I, honest to God, and this is going to be probably my hottest fantasy take, maybe of the off season. It wouldn't shock me if Trevor Lawrence finishes as a top 10 quarterback by the end of the season.
Another bold statement. Okay.
I know. So one of Cohen's strengths is he adapts to his personnel. And here's the evidence of that, is he comes from the McVay tree, right? So I remember when Baker Mayfield signed with the Buccaneers, and I was like, okay, it's going to be like a Jared Goff type of, like, you know, kind of 1 read, 2 read type of offense, like the Lions run. Absolutely not. If you watch what the Buccaneers did, which I know you did, the Buccaneers utilize Baker's rushing ability very well. They kind of adapted to, okay, this is what happens. And they ran, as you pointed out, a fuck ton of slants. Why? Because he had a big ass receiver in Mike Evans. So he adapts to what he has. And I think that is a very key factor with the Jacksonville Jaguars is, you know, offensively, what they have, it's not terrible. It's not great. I'm not saying like, oh, that's, you know, a very slept on offense. No, I mean, they have work to do. But in terms of like, they're like, there's a piece here, a piece there, you know, there's things to work with there. And I think that's why they wanted Liam Coen so bad, because we didn't mention this, but Liam Coen, this whole like hiring process was hilarious.
It was very interesting.
He flew to Jacksonville, did the interview. They loved him. And he was like, yeah, I kind of want to go back to Tampa Bay. He flew back to Tampa Bay. Was like, no, I'm staying. And Jacksonville called him up, was like, we'll pay you whatever you want. You're like, yeah, I'm going to go to Jacksonville.
No, the reason that this is the big thing that Coen decided to go back to Jacksonville. He did not want Trent Baalke as his GM.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, I did not know that.
And so for the first interview,
move.
This was a discussion during the first interview where he discussed it. Is like, is Trent Baalke going to be the GM? And they said, as of right now, we're going to retain him as the GM. So then he's like, okay. Then the Bucs called him. They're like, we're willing to give you a contract to come back here. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So he flew back to Tampa Bay, just like you said. But then literally, I think it was like 2 days or maybe even the day after, the Jaguars fired Trent Baalke. And so then they called Liam Coen. It's like, well, okay, we did the thing that you wanted. So you're willing to come back? And then a little bit of the contract negotiations. Well, he's like, yeah, I'll come back. And so then, yeah, he flew back to Jacksonville. And that's why he took the job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But yeah, it was the GM situation as to why he decided to go back and take the job. Or he was not going to take the job because of Trent Baalke. And I don't blame him. I hate Trent Baalke.
Big dick swinging by Liam Coen. I love it. But anyway,
what's he have to lose? He had so much success in Tampa Bay.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Do that again and get any job that he wanted.
You're returning exactly. Fun fact, by the way, Tampa Bay is the only NFL offense returning all their starters.
It's true.
And like literally, they lost no starters on offense. So yes, no, he had absolutely nothing to lose because it's just like, I can do this shit again.
You just do it again. Yeah, do it better, if anything.
Yeah, for real. But so anyway, going back to Trevor Lawrence is, and kind of, you know, repeating what you say is, you look at the success he had with Baker Mayfield with, you know, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns from Baker Mayfield. This is the guy that Cleveland convinced the entire league was a complete first overall like bust. And it's one of my favorite redemption arcs in NFL history, in football history. And Liam Coen is responsible for it. And he's in my goddamn division. And yeah, Trevor Lawrence is going to be so good next year. God damn it. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, fantasy wise, good sleeper. Maybe consider taking him in the later rounds. Just you go.
Wow.
This entire episode,
back to
has just been so painful.
So it's back to back because he had a bold statement with Drake May. I think you said he was going to finish as a top 12 quarterback, if I remember correctly.
I think I said top 15.
He said top 15. Okay.
That's
a bold statement. There's still a bold statement
that
for
one,
Drake May.
No.
And then now
Drake
you're saying
May, I don't
Trevor
see
Lawrence
top
10.
Well, and that shows my belief in Liam Coen because
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. All right, but interesting. I know you started talking about.
My hand hurts.
I know you started talking about LaQuint Allen, and we brought up Baishal Tune as far as like this could possibly be the future of the running back position for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But in the interim, I still like Travis Etienne to benefit the most, especially in redraft leagues. So he is my guy that I'm picking will benefit the most from Liam Coen's system this year.
What about Maurice Jones-Drew?
Honestly, he could find success in this offense too, but he needs to trim down. He chunked up quite a bit after leaving the playing days. Have you seen him?
What about Fred Taylor?
Fred Taylor could find some success too. He could find some success too. For sure. But yeah, you look at Etienne, I think he should see a career revitalization with Coen and the changing of his offensive scheme, because I could see him filling that Bucky Irving role that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were employing last year with him, but just doing that here in Jacksonville. Etienne had a sensational year in 2022. You have to remember 2021, he missed his entire rookie year, hurt with an injury there. In 2022, he came back. He had 255 touches and over 1,440 scrimmage yards. Even though he only scored 5 touchdowns, he is a dynamic player in that Jaguars offense. The following year in 2023, he had 325 touches in the offense, had over 1,480 scrimmage yards, and this time he scored 12 total touchdowns. It was averaging 4.6 yards per touch. Last year, unfortunately, Etienne saw a step back. He saw only 812 scrimmage yards off of 189 total touches. He scored 2 total touchdowns as well, but he's still able to average 4.3 yards per touch. Now, here's the big thing as to why we can sort of have, the Warriors were trying to do this with their twin timelines of trying to compete now, but trying to get younger. For some reason, it wasn't working. Here, though, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I can see this working because Travis Etienne is entering a contract year. So I can see him finding a lot of success under Liam Coen, but then after the contract year comes, you'll probably price him out of being able to re-sign with Jacksonville. They'll move forward with the younger contracts, that is Baishal Tune and LaQuint Allen. Tank Bigsby still under contract.
You are really counting Tank Bigsby out a lot.
He's still under contract control too, so he could definitely find a role there. But it's like, I really like the 2 rookies that they drafted. I think they got very good shot to develop in that system and become that Rachaad White and Bucky Irving that he had in Tampa Bay. It'll just maybe take a little bit of time, because one of the big things is that I know you said LaQuint Allen is a good pass blocker, which he is, but I think to enter into the NFL as a rookie, I don't know whether he'll make that transition as smoothly. Whereas Travis Etienne has already been in the NFL. He's probably their best pass blocker on the roster right now at the running back position. So he'll see a lot more playing time on all 3 downs because of his pass catching ability, his ability to run the ball. And then the big thing is that he's probably the best pass blocker of the running backs that they have on the roster right now. So I definitely could see Etienne really benefiting from lots of things that we brought up during the whole coaching philosophy, as far as really using that, scheme of the screen game,
the
as
2
far
back
as the passing game there
and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. The 2 back personnel, where you're sort of like, mentioning with the decoys and the pass blocking and things like that, and benefiting. That's where Tank Bigsby can see a lot of fantasy touches as well. But I think just it's going to revolve around Travis Etienne, though, when it comes to backfield personnel. And so, yeah, I think this is, like I said, you could get that 2 timeline sort of arc where it's like, we'll see some Baishal Tune, we'll see some LaQuint Allen, but I think Travis Etienne will be the sole sort of fantasy provider in that backfield. And then after this year, yeah, he could price himself out. He'll sign somewhere else. But yeah, I think you sort of see that dual action there, though. So yeah, I like Travis Etienne this year to find success in Coen's offense.
No, I agree. I think he's going to do really well in this offense. And yes, that is going to be a trap free agency signings. I think as soon as he signs with a different team, yeah, he's just going to go back. Not bad running back, just fine. Okay, I'm going to let our audience into the background a little bit here. I was going to do a bit there where I kept naming Jacksonville Jaguars rushers.
You couldn't name anymore, could you?
Oh, no. What? No, I couldn't. So I looked
without looking it up, probably.
Yeah. So I looked them up, and I could not contain my laughter after I saw this. Do you want to guess who is the 6th all-time rusher in Jacksonville Jaguars history?
Jacksonville Jaguars history.
History. All time.
Is it like David Garrard or Byron Leftwich, like one of those guys?
Even better.
Even better?
So much better.
Oh, Lord.
I'm going to have to fact check this after the episode because there's no way this is true.
Is it like Mark Brunell?
It's Mark Brunell.
Mark Brunell? Wow. I don't remember being that much of a runner, but yeah, that's pretty terrible.
So, yes.
Wow.
Oh, God. So I couldn't keep it together. Like, after that, I was just like, you know what? I'm dropping the bit. Like, nothing
Who
can
are the other
out.
5 then? Do you still have the list?
Yes. No. I got it up here. So, number 1 is Fred Taylor.
Makes sense, yes.
Number 2 is MJD.
Makes sense.
Number 3, never heard of him, James Stewart.
Yeah, that was back in the early days. So yeah,
95 and 99.
Yeah.
Number 4 is your boy, Travis Etienne. So he's shooting up those boards quickly. Number 5 is Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette. Yeah, I totally. A lot of people forget that. Yeah, he is.
Wonder what he's up to now. Number
Mark Brunell, number
6. Okay, I'm sorry. Number 7's a good throwback, actually. James Robinson.
Yeah, at Illinois State.
Number 8, TJ Yeldon.
Wow.
Oh, the next 2 are gold. Number 9, Blake Bortles.
Wow, Blake Bortles. Former number 3 overall pick, Blake Bortles.
I love the Jaguars so much, dude. Yeah, we cannot win in there. It's the weirdest thing.
This is a nightmare scenario for career rushing leaders. It's like the first 2 are like, okay, these are great.
No.
After that, it's just
and number 10, David Garrard. So
David Garrard. I was like, all-time
franchise rushing leaders. There are 3 quarterbacks in there.
2 that you would never guess. Like, Tad, do you remember that show on ESPN called Stump the Schwab? That might have been over before you started watching.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
This would have probably been that question where it's like, you start listing off all-time leaders in rushing history for the Jaguars. Nobody would guess Blake Bortles or Mark Brunell. I swear to God, nobody would guess those. That's just insane to me.
God, dude. Oh, this is great. All right. We're going to keep going for 3 more. Okay. Actually, 4 more. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Number 11, Stacey Mack.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, never heard of him. Number 12, Natron Means.
Natron Means. Okay, yes, I'm familiar with him.
Okay. 13. You ready for this? Trevor Lawrence.
Wow.
Number 14. And I only know this because I'm a Michigan fan. Do you know who I'm going to say?
Denard Robinson?
Denard Robinson is number 14.
Former NCAA cover athlete, actually.
That's true.
He was the cover athlete of the very last iteration of the NCAA football game before the new version. He was the cover athlete.
Oh, my God. I am so glad I looked that up. I am literally crying.
Yeah, complain as much as you want about the Jaguars and them getting better. But yeah, you look at something like that and you're just like, wow.
Christ, that is funny. Hold on.
That is surprising. But I think after the conclusion.
Man. All right, real quick. Do you want to guess who number 6 in all-time passing leaders in Jaguars history is?
Passing leaders?
Passing in terms of yards.
In terms of yards. Is that Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, it's Chad Henne.
Chad Henne. Wow. Yeah.
All right. This ending put me in a way better mood. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting history with the Jaguars, but yeah, the hope is that he can turn things around now in 2025.
Number 7 is Gardner Minshew, by the way.
Wow, that's fantastic. But yeah, the hope is that they can sort of turn things around in 2025 and beyond with their new head coach, Liam Coen. I think there's a lot of optimism surrounding the things that he can sort of bring to this offense there. They got some good playmakers, as we mentioned, with Travis Etienne, Brian Thomas Jr., Trevor Lawrence is hopefully going to have a resurgent year as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, especially as a fantasy manager this year, that you could probably trust some of the players in this Jaguars offense for sure. But I mean, guys, that is just the next episode in our head coaching series. We still got 5 more to go. We got a lot more episodes to go. In case you missed our first episode, we did Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots in our first episode series. So make sure you turn back and listen to that episode. We already talked about Tad had a bold take with Drake May, but you can listen to everything else about his history and then my pick for my favorite player as far as who will break out in that new system there under the third stint of Josh McDaniels, in case you missed that. But yeah, so that should be fun there for sure. But guys, yeah, we're going to continue with the head coaching series. Our next coach will be Pete Carroll. So that should be a lot of fun with his extensive coaching history and the success he had. Hopefully he can bring some success to the silver and black there.
Speaking of 30 for 30s, by the way.
Yeah.
USC 30 for 30, amazing.
It's a very good one. It's a very, very good one there. So yeah, that'll be the next episode. So guys, make sure you're tuning in to, subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast. It's the best way you can keep up to date whenever our new episodes are dropping for the head coaching series and all future episodes. And please interact with us on our social media handles. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the Jaguars and the Patriots. And we're obviously talking about the Raiders next. And we still got a lot more teams to discuss. And obviously, once the head coaching series is done, we'll have a lot of fantasy coverage coming your way. So we'd love to hear your thoughts about everything that's happening there with your favorite sleepers and busts and everything in between. So follow us on Twitter. You got us there. You got me at UpInside23, Tad at Tad94. Got the show handle at the Aside Guys. And of course, on Instagram at the Aside Guys as well. That is where you can find all of our, social media updates. Definitely when we start doing our position rankings and our sleepers and busts and all of that, we'll be dropping graphics for all of that. Only way you find all those graphics is by following us on our social media handles on Instagram as well as Twitter. As mentioned, subscribe or listen to your podcast, or we're always up to date with our podcast episodes. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so we're always up to date with everything when it comes to the audio and video of our podcast. But please, make sure you're supporting our parent network at LAFB Network, because without them, there would be no us. They're giving you a lot of great content when it comes to the Rams and the Chargers. Mini camps have opened up in June here. In about a month, we'll have training camp. And then in a month after that, we'll have preseason games. So we've got a lot of things happening in the next couple of months during the summer here. So it's not a dry spell here. There's a lot of things to be excited about. If you're a Chargers or Rams fan, they got you covered with a lot of great content there. And with that, the college football season is also right around the corner. That season starts 1 week before the NFL season starts. So they got you covered with lots of UCLA and USC coverage as well, with some of the transfer portal madness, where things land with, head coaching as far as hot seats and all that stuff. So they got you covered with all 4 LA football teams there, both at the pros and the college level. But Tad, it is not just football anymore. They got you covered with the offseason coverage for both the Lakers and the Clippers and what are their draft plans, with the draft happening in about a month or so, month and a half maybe in July there. We also got, with baseball season happening right now, a month and a half until the All-Star break, we got your Angels and Dodgers coverage going on as well. So all 3 big sports teams, sports leagues, with LA there, they got you covered with all of that. So lots of great content coming from a lot of great content producers. But guys, to everybody who's already supporting our podcast by interacting with us on social media, dropping comments on our YouTube videos, watching the YouTube videos, listening to our podcast, just anything and everything that you're doing to support the podcast, we cannot thank you enough.
Mac Jones is number 9. I love this franchise. Anyway, what were we talking about? Right. Yeah. Support LAFB Network. Salute to Troy podcast hosted by Al Rowe. LAFB Network actually just dropped some new USC shirts. They hate USC because they ain't us. It works better in print than it does verbally.
But the visual gag works a lot better.
Yes, much better.
It's absolutely terrible.
Absolutely I was terrible. Going for it anyway. But be sure to check out the Salute to Troy podcast hosted by person of the show, Al Rowe. And be sure to check out LA Confidential, hosted by Chauncey Talese. Excellent podcast, hilarious, great analysis of the Rams, of popular culture, of pretty much just like anything that you want to hear. Chauncey will let you know. So be sure to give that a listen, even though LA Confidential and, unfortunately the Decide Guys cannot be found on the LAFB Network website because they're going more LA focused, which is fine. You can still find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you find your podcast. So be sure to check us out there. Please hit that subscribe button. And if you can, please leave a 5-star review. 4-star, we'll sell for. Anything less than that, just don't do it. Just, move on. But as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And please, as always, everyone, stay safe.